state capture inquiry today heard how former Transnet boss Brian Molefe allegedly took cash-filled bags to the Gupta brothers. Witness 1 testified in camera in order to protect his identity. It's claimed the witness received threatening text messages not to testify ahead of his appearance before the commission. Reporter Mohlaoli joins us now for more on this, and he has been tracking these developments. Tumaole, what do we know about Witness 1?
Well, we don't know very much, but what we do know about Witness 1, apart from the fact that, of course, he's testifying in camera and is also being put in a place of safety after receiving those death threats, we know that he was a bodyguard to Mr. Molefe, and he is now testifying about his intimate knowledge as to what happened in the time Molefe was allegedly also dealing with the Gupta brothers. Now, what Witness 1 testified today before the Zondo Commission of Inquiry, of course in camera, was the fact that Brian Molefe went and took bags full of money from the Transnet offices and went to deliver them at the Gupta residence. Now let's hear exactly what this witness had to say.
On the 49th floor in the big boardroom, I'll position myself next to the door so that I stop anyone who can come in and interrupt the meetings. While I was standing there, Mr. Molefe just came to me at the door to say, no, look, go to my bag and go and collect my cell phone in my bag in the office. As instructed, I went to his office.
This was at the Carlton Center, or where was it?
It was in the Carlton Center, yes.
Okay, continue.
I went as instructed to go and collect the cell phone. When I opened his light brown leather backpack to take out a cell phone, I was surprised to see the bag that was more half with bundles of 200 notes. I then
200 rand notes.
Yes.
Right.
I then called his PA and showed her the cash in the bag and just said, look, you should make sure that nobody comes in here, because should something get lost, should this money get lost, it would be me and you who will have to be answerable. So just make sure. I called the PA, the PA came, and then I showed her the money.
Right. The light brown leather backpack that you referred to, is that the same backpack that you mentioned earlier as a light brown leather backpack, or a different one?
It's the same one.
Right.
You mentioned in paragraph 32 about how much money you saw there in relation to the size of the bag. Do you want to tell me exactly how much, not in terms of what the amount was, but how much money was in the bag that you saw? You do say in paragraph 32.
Chair, it would be very difficult for me to say to give you the exact amount. But
no. I'm not saying say the amount. Was it like a quarter in the bag? Was it full in the bag? Was it half in the bag? Are you able to get it?
It was half. It was half in the bag, Chair.
And the bag we're talking about is the leather backpack similar to the one that we saw earlier on. Is that right?
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay. And when you saw this money on this day, was that still close to the day when Mr. Molefe had instructed you to deliver a bag to Mr. Ajay Gupta, or this was a completely different day on another day at some other time?
It was a different day. I can't recall the period, how far was that.
Okay.
But it's a different day, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Startling allegations there of this light brown leather backpack. Interesting indeed. Do we know, as he continued with his evidence, when he asked Mr. Molefe what this money was for, what response did he get, and do we know what eventually became of the bag?
Absolutely, Bongyo. What happened is that when he confronted Mr. Molefe as to what this money was for, because he raised the concern that carrying this large amount of money in cash poses a security risk. He says that Mr. Molefe then allegedly turned to him angrily and told him that he had no right to question him, and basically told him off. And after that, to answer the question as to what then happened to this bag, the witness testified that Mr. Molefe instructed him to take him to Saxonwold, where he would then go and drop off this money allegedly. And he went on to testify that when he got there, he noticed that one of the Gupta brothers, Mr. AJ Gupta, is the one who then came out to meet Mr. Molefe. And when asked what happened to the bag, then he wasn't too clear as to what had happened, but he knows that this is where he went to drop off Mr. Molefe, who met Mr. Gupta at that residence.
Another former minister's name has come up once again about his presence at the Gupta family. Who's this minister and why were they there?
This is the question now, because this is the same witness again who, at the time when he went to drop Mr. Molefe at for that particular meeting at the Gupta residence, he saw Malusiki Gaba coming out of the residence with the Gupta brother. So again, we see that this particular residence coming into the center again in terms of the whole state capture narrative, showing that ministers had been going in and out of the Gupta's brothers' residence while holding very senior portfolios in government. So this puts it squarely down to the fact that the allegations and the reports that have been coming out in the past of ministers allegedly going and being given information about them being given positions in government, senior cabinet positions. This seems to verify that narrative, and this particular security detail is the man who is now spilling the beans on that.